Why do we fail? Well, I've got one of the reasons and some solutions that are going to help you to stop failing and start having achievement. Let's do this thing. Hey, JB here. This is more of a community than a channel, and as always, welcome. This is a very important video for those of you that are kind of feeling like you're on the hamster wheel or you keep chasing a shining object. Let's talk about why that is. And we're going to get into this little, on my iPad here, we're going to talk about this stages of change. Now, this came from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross originally, On Death and Dying. One of my favorite books for those of you that are working with others and helping people grieving, moving through some of the stages of grief. That's really where this came from. And then other people have taken it. You've probably seen this before. Alex Hormozi, who's killing it out there, uses this to kind of talk about why people have issues when they start something new. And there's a few other people that are using it. So it's not new, right? But it is something that not a lot of people have really realized. Specifically, I didn't realize it years ago. And hopefully you're going to be able to take something away from this. Because here's what happens. When we start something, typically we get all excited about it, like remodeling a house, for example. You're like, hey, I got the vision. I'm going to change this house. It is going to be beautiful. And at that point, we have uninformed optimism. Another example would be like looking at my business and going, wow, JB just podcasts every day. He plays a lot of golf. He has fun. I can do that. That's exciting. And you know what? You can, right? You can. I'm telling you can do what I do. If you're excited about it and you want to do it. You got this optimism. So you're like, okay, I'm going to remodel the house or I'm going to start a podcast. And what happens is then we get into this next stage right here. It's called informed pessimism. And what happens at this stage is you start tearing down the house and you start tearing the drywall out and you're in the middle of it and you're looking at all this construction that needs to be done. You're looking at plumbing work that maybe you don't know how to do. And you're like, what do I do next? I can't believe I got myself into this. So you start getting pessimistic. You start getting negative, and you have what we call the crisis of meaning. It's like, oh my gosh, how did I get into this? Well, how did I do this? And so what happens at that point, typically you burn out or you crash and burn or you fail, right? Let's do the podcasting example. You're excited about it. You start working. You start recording. You're like, oh man, now I need microphones. How do I sound? You know, what's the technique? What's the format? How do I do this? And you start digging into it. And what you thought was really easy, there's a lot of steps to it. And you're starting to get frustrated and you crash and burn. In fact, 90% of podcasts in the world today fail. 90% people quit. They don't fail. People quit before they get to 10 episodes. Look, I wasn't successful till I got to about 200 episodes. And now I'm at 5,000 plus. So you got to be able to do something. And one of those ways we'll get through that is to talk about coaching and mentoring. But I want to show you what happens for a lot of people. Is they get this same pattern going. And they say a lot of entrepreneurs have ADD. But I don't know if it's ADD so much as this really optimistic state that you finally found the business model you're going to work on. And then you get into the informed pessimism. You realize it's a little bit more difficult than you thought it was when you initially banked in your head, like, I'm going to make this much money. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a crisis of meaning, right? It's like, oh, what did I get myself into? So all of a sudden, you're burning out, and then another shining object comes up, and it's like, wow, I got this, right? And then you get this uninformed optimism, like you don't know really what it's about, but you're excited about it. Oh, I've seen this person doing this. Man, he built this website, and he's got leads, and he's going to go, if you think about NFTs and cryptocurrency and, all the latest things, AI, right? You just kind of keep going to the next thing. And the reason is because then all of a sudden you get into it and go, oh, well, maybe AI wasn't everything that I thought it was. And you start getting pessimistic, you start getting negative, and you're like, oh, what do I do next, right? And then all of a sudden it happens again. You see something else. And you just keep this pattern. It just continues to flow. A good example of that is if you've ever been to a network marketing meeting, right, where it's 642 go diamond and they draw the pyramid, right? We've all seen this. And you get two who get four, who get six, or it's, 6, 4, 2, go diamond, right? And you're sitting there going, wow, this could kind of work. If I could get 6 people who get 4, who get 2, and you're banking in your head, and then you're extremely optimistic about it, but then you get the informed pessimism, right? You get this informed pessimism. You get in there, you're like, hey, my friends and family don't want to buy this stuff. I thought everybody would. And now all of a sudden you're stuck. You're in this business and you're like, man, do I stick with it or not? And how did they keep you? A lot of people, and Amway specifically, who did such a good job with this, was with books, tapes, and functions. They get you into kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, right, into the system. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's how they keep you going. So one of the reasons, I started my coaching program, Get It Done Now, because I've seen so many people in this pattern and they couldn't get out. They were just stuck. And so I created planners and I created structure, and I do CoachCast every single day because I'm tired of the suffering, the entrepreneurial suffering that comes from this pattern, from this failure pattern. It's really hard. So the idea then is we want to interrupt this. So what we do is we get excited about something, and we need to make sure we have the reason why we're going to do it. Make sure it's something we want to do, not just for the money, not just because it's like, oh, I see JB doing this, I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do YouTube, right? And you start doing YouTube, and then you're like, wow, I thought JB was just sitting at a desk. You don't see the other cameras, the microphones, all this stuff I had to learn over years. And you're like, okay, this is a little bit more challenging. I can't just use my phone. Now, let me tell you, some people can use their phone. There's some people who can pull it off. But typically what happens is you're going to get informed pessimism because you don't have the tools yet, you don't have the experience, and you're going to have that crisis of meaning, you're going to burn out. So this area right here is so critical. This little area here that we're talking about right here, this line right at burnout is important. To avoid that informed pessimism and crisis of meaning, that's where you need mentors and coaches. And that's why I do the programs that I'm doing, because then you can move through it. When I started YouTube, for example, I started off, I'm like, oh, this is easy. This is going to be easy to grow. It didn't really grow. And then I got informed pessimism. It's like, oh, this stuff doesn't work. And then I had a couple videos hit. And the videos hit because of the Remarkable 2 device. And that was cool. And I'm like, I can do this. And every time I did it, it just didn't work. So I hired some coaches. And I burned out a couple times. Many of you know, if you've been with me a long time, you know that this YouTube, I'm talking not about my podcasting, my coaching, that's killing it. But this is a hobby. I burned out a couple times, right? And then I got some informed optimism because I learned from other people. And one of the things they said was do some reaction videos. My reaction videos are getting 20, 30,000 views instantly, within a couple days, which is awesome. So now I have this informed optimism that leads me to achievement, and it helps me keep moving forward because I'm informed now. I know what this takes. I got to do a lot of videos. I got to put it out there, and I have to treat it more as a business than a hobby. Right? So most people, again, like I said, they start this uninformed optimism. They get out there, they start getting pessimistic. For example, podcasting, which is my baby, literally made millions of dollars over 18 years, is supported my lifestyle. I built membership sites. I'm one of the few people that was, back in 2009, went to paid, right? And so it's changed my life. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my podcast. And then people get crisis of meaning before they even do 10. And most of the people aren't going to contact somebody like me and take one of my courses because they just feel they can do it on their own. And I get that. I'm the same way, right? But the key is to get somebody that's going to help you push you past. Somebody like myself that's done 5,000 plus. Somebody that's been around for 18 years. Somebody that can help you jump that gap to get you the information that you need to keep the optimism going so you can drive forward. Otherwise, you're in this pattern where you have this, you're excited about it. It's like, wow, okay, this is going to take a lot. Man, this isn't for me. And then you just crash. An example, my YouTube, which is a good example of this because this is fun, is that's what's happened to me. My Remarkable videos didn't work very much. Started getting the crisis meaning, do I really want to do this? I'm not making much money. Started to fall off of that. And so then I started looking, and I hired a coach, and he's like, hey, do some reaction videos. These things are fun. They're easy to do, and people, whether they like you or not. So I did it, and I got that informed pessimism. Like, yeah, it is a little bit harder than I thought. I still got to do the recordings. And then I kind of had the crisis of meaning, but my coach was there. And so then I did it, and boom, the views were there, started to get the achievement. I was like, okay, now I understand this is what you do, and now I've got achievement. Now it keeps moving, and that's why it's important to have a community. It's important to have coaches. It's important to have mentors that help you through the patterns and through the progress of this so you can get off this hamster wheel. And if you're an entrepreneur, right, that just feels this way, it just seems like whether in your management skills and leadership skills, you keep going after the shiny object, maybe it's the new products, you're just on this hamster wheel, right? And you can't get the achievement that you really want, then this is what's the pattern that you're following. And we can help. I can help you with that, or other people. It's just not about me here at Morning Coach, it's a community. But that's what I specifically do. It's working with entrepreneurs, people that are professional experts, to get them on track and get you off this hamster wheel. Okay, so that's kind of what I want to show you today, is these stages of change from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross that are really brought to entrepreneurism, and why so many entrepreneurs are dealing with ADD, are failing, is because it's not really the ADD, it's this chasing the shiny object because they have this great optimism when they start the business, like remodeling a house, a great example of that. And then they get into it and they're like, oh my gosh, all this work. Why did I do it? I need to hire somebody to do it. And then it's like a lot of unfinished project, right? If you have a lot of unfinished books, a lot of unfinished projects, and you're in this pattern, it's like, oh, okay, that's enough. And now all of a sudden you're looking for the next thing. Books are another example. You start a book, that's what most people do. They have uninformed optimism. I can't wait to read this book. Then it's all of a sudden they get into it, or even writing a book, right? It's like, oh, now I got to read it. And then it's like crisis of meaning, put it to the side, and then the next book shows up. It's like, wow, this is exciting. Same thing with writing. I work with a lot of writers who are professional experts. I'm gonna write my book. I'm so excited. They get to this next stage, they start going, wow, now I gotta do the 1,000 words a day. They start getting pessimistic about it. Do I even wanna do this at all? It's like, no, I don't wanna do writing. Hey, there's podcasting. That's what I'm gonna do. So getting yourself organized and making sure you have the right structure, having the right coaches, having the right productivity system in place is going to save a lot of trouble. It's going to help you succeed. It's going to get you off this hamster wheel of chasing this shiny object and get you there. All right. So if you like this video, hey, press that like button, and hopefully this is going to help you get off the hamster wheel and start achieving more. And for those of you that want more, hey, head over to morningcoach.com, hit us up. We got some cool programs for you. And we're just rocking and rolling here. As always, thank you for watching, and until the next video, have a great one. Hey, thanks for watching. As always, if you haven't subscribed, hit that button up there, and if you're ready for the next video, right there is what YouTube's suggestion. All right, lots of love. Thanks for watching to the end.